So Donald Trump says he's going to be meeting with Vladimir Putin next week. And you're probably asking, where are we doing this? And the answer is Alaska. This is the headline. Trump announces he'll meet with Putin in Alaska next Friday. Okay. And we tweeted out about this. It's from Trump. Highly anticipated meeting between myself as President of the United States of America and President Vladimir Putin of Russia will take place next Friday, August 15, 2025, in the great state of Alaska. Further details to follow. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And my first reaction when I saw this was, are we planning to sell Alaska to Russia? Is that our plan now? And you never know with Trump. With his various country negotiations and his trade team, I do know that he's been trying to get money from Japan, Korea, and other places to invest in their Alaska projects. So we'll see where this ends up. And now we're meeting Russia in Alaska. So like I said, are we selling Alaska? Is that what we're up to? I wish I were making jokes about this, but no, this is what the talk is. Then you have this headline, U.S.-Russia peace deal proposed, huge win for Putin. Great. Here's Trump talking about this stuff.
Will Zelensky have to give up territory, Mr. President?
Well, you're looking at territory that's been fought over for 3.5 years with, a lot of Russians have died, a lot of Ukrainians have died. So we're looking at that, but we're actually looking to get some back. And some swapping. It's complicated. It's actually nothing easy. It's very complicated, but we're going to get some back. We're going to get some switched. There'll be some swapping of territories to the betterment of both. And but we'll be talking about that either later or tomorrow.
So you just heard it. Trump's talking about swapping land and otherwise. This is the map where we're talking about eastern Ukraine. Basically just giving it to Russia. Now, Zelensky hasn't signed on board on this stuff. And then Trump's people are now trying to convince everyone in Europe to say, hey, let's just give more land to Russia. This is what Trump's game is. And you remember Trump's whole sort of motive with this stuff is how can I put money in my pocket, in the Trump family pocket, and how can I build more hotels and casinos as many places as I can. And I was thinking about this today. The best way to talk about the Trump people is to understand this word. It's extortion. If you're coming from outside the USA, I have the definition of it here. When you read it, you're like, wow, this is totally Trump people. So extortion, what does it mean? The practice of obtaining something, especially money, through force or threats, right? Doesn't that sound like Trump? And this is the sample sentence here. He used bribery and extortion to build himself a huge art-stuffed mansion. Again, this is totally Trump. And so this is what was my first reaction is, are we selling Alaska? And yes, are we talking about some sort of extortion going on? This is also a headline today. Trump wants UCLA, it's a university, to pay $1 billion to restore its research funding. Great. And if you want to understand Trump's early years, which I highly recommend, I've mentioned this movie several times, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's called The Apprentice. It basically just shows you who Trump is. He's been a criminal and a gangster mindset for years. And unfortunately, he's brought this culture to the White House. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be this way. So, for example, if you haven't seen this movie, and I know I recommend the same stuff all the time, but you got to see it. It'll make sense to you. This was in Korea, and there's movies called 1987, and it shows the importance of a free press and the importance to call out the BS of whatever government is saying. The particular story, you'll see it right from the beginning, opening scene, is the government lies about a student death, and there's a big cover-up, and people decide, whether or not they want to expose the truth or not. And it's a fantastic story. It's a true story, and they're definitely worth seeing. I also today want to share some words from Bernie Sanders, which is something we need to talk about more because I know it gets to be depressing when you hear Trump nonstop, extortion, deals, whatever, trying to get money in his pocket, be it AI, crypto, and now what are we doing, selling Alaska to Russia, that kind of stuff. And let's just listen to what Bernie has to say.
That what's going on right now is an acceleration of what's gone on in this country for the last 50 years, and that is the people on top who have never ever had it so good, they're not satisfied. They got a couple of $100 billion, not enough. They want more and more, and they, in their greed, see, these are very religious people. And their religion is greed. and they worship on the altar of money. And they don't care if they throw people off of health insurance. And you know what happens? Let's be frank. Let's throw it out on the table. When you throw 15 million people off of the health care they have, working class people, low income people, you know what happens when people can't go to a doctor when they need to? They die.
And so I want to show you a picture, guys. I saw Bernie back in 2016 at USC, and I've been a fan of Bernie for years. And it's a real shame what the Democratic Party did to Bernie. You know, I've always said about that for years. I never liked what they did. I just felt like they kind of bullied and pushed him out. Doesn't mean I'm like, you know, big fan of Republicans, of course not. But I'm just saying, you know, that there are other ways of thinking other than, you know, supporting endless wars or, you know, talking about where Trump's going to build his hotels. I want to give you a different point of view. And, you know, if you watch YouTube or whatever, today's society seems to be filled with, you know, TikTok stuff and worshiping of money. It doesn't mean that, you know, you don't need money in your life. Of course you need money, but there's an overemphasis on the material aspects of it. And this is sort of how we got to this, you know, Trump or Musk world. Just people worship and idolize money too much. It's a moral and ethical fault in the USA at the moment. So I want to give you different points of view on this stuff because we can take care of everyone. Other countries do it. Why can't the USA? And I hope that this moment where we're seeing like just massive corruption from Trump, that there will be a sea change in the US coming in midterm, the next election.
That no, it is not acceptable from a moral or economic point of view that one man, Mr. Musk, has more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. Now, am I missing something, or is that totally crazy that one guy has more wealth than the bottom half of households in America? Does anybody think it is vaguely right that the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 93%? Anybody think it's right that CEOs of large corporations make 350 times what their workers make?
And you have to understand sort of why do I bring this stuff up? There's a couple of philosophies on this, okay? So if you're in the Trumpy, Musky fan world, you fantasize that you think you're going to be Trump or Musk, even though these people are born wealthy, right? Do you understand this? Like, you know, if and you'll, this is the reality, you'll know you're born wealthy is if your parents can give you a whole bunch of money to go start your company or real estate venture. That's how you know. If you don't have that kind of backing from your parents, then you're not wealthy. That's just the easy way to measure it. Can you say, Mom, Dad, I want to go start a company. Maybe I'll fail 5 times, but you'll just keep giving me money until my company finally makes money, or introduce me to the right people so I can borrow a bunch of money and then keep borrowing money and, you know, buy stuff and borrow more money on borrowed assets, et cetera, and know how to play that financial scam game, which is essentially where we are today with, say, with Trump or Musk. It's frustrating that people just worship this stuff too much. And that's sort of why I try to expose these things to you guys, and, you know, be it with the extortion definition or what Trump's trying to make whatever deal with Putin. I think Trump's end game is to become Putin, but other people do see it. I mean, that's why I'm showing you guys Bernie. I just want you to know you're not alone, and other people do see it as well. Let's see what most Bernie has to say.
And the working people of this country understand there is something profoundly wrong when you have a president who gives $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%. And then makes massive cuts to Medicaid. 15 million Americans, including 50,000 right here in West Virginia, are going to lose their health care.
And what this whole thing is about is creating a more fair system so that you and your children have an equal shot to pursue whatever you want to pursue, right? You have access to health care, you have affordable housing, you have a fair system. Now, in the reverse, if you understand how Trump and Musk fool you, is they'll dangle, you know, whatever distractions in front of you. They'll blow racist dog whistles, etc. And you'll go to your job and you won't have benefits and you won't get paid very much. And you're like, well, what's going on? And then they just blow racist dog whistles again, or whatever thing that they're trying to distract you with. And you have to understand, sort of like, say with Bernie, when he's talking about taxes, these kind of things, it says, hey, let's make a fair system, opposed to a system to where, you know, the CEO benefits, you know, get everything, get all the tax cuts, whatever, and their workers don't, you know, and can't afford anything. If you guys understand this whole point of view, and you know, I understand when you talk to MAGA people, this kind of stuff gets to be, you know, how can I say, too complicated for them. I'm trying to be nice about it, but you got to put it in the most simplest terms, you know. If you want to make it really simple to say, hey, do you think it's fair if your boss doesn't pay you? Or, hey, do you think it's fair if your boss always changes the rules? Or, hey, do you think it's fair if your boss is breaking contracts? These kind of stuff. And, you know, from an average worker's perspective, you should understand, no, I don't want my boss cheating me. No, I don't want my boss to break contracts. And so that's the kind of world that Trump must want. They want to control everything, write the rules so it favors the boss, put it in the most simplest terms, while everyone else struggles. And then, you know, Trump's all talking about getting people to go back and work in the farms, these kind of things, and send it back to, you know, 100 years ago. That's what he's always talking about. It's so obvious what's happening, but I think what it is, you have to change the discussion of how we talk about this stuff.
Going to be able to pay the rent at the end of the month? Am I going to be able to buy the decent quality food my kid needs? And what happens if somebody in the family gets sick and I have a large deductible? How am I going to pay that? I can't go to the doctor. My mom's sick. She can't afford prescription drugs.
And you know, this kind of stuff is the situation of this average people.
Are you concerned that tariffs might hurt the stock market rise that you have seen and the economy more broadly?
Make our country rich. Tariffs will make our country rich.
But won't they raise prices?
Properly used. No, well, I didn't have any inflation, and I had massive tariffs on a lot of things. We put tariffs on steel.
And I just want you to hear the contrast all the time that Trump always tells you that you're rich and you need all this money from the tariffs. And it's like what are you talking about? And then they just start making up numbers. And Bernie's just talking about the reality of things. And guys, I know a lot of people are struggling out there. Costs are really high. Unemployment is going up. It's hard to find a decent paying job to cover everything. Benefits are awful in the USA. And I just telling you the truth that there are other ways to do things. You can look at other countries. There are other ways to do things. And the Republicans, what they try to do, they just try to scare you. There's like, oh, well, if there's going to be, you know, more taxes on wealthy people, I don't want to work. It's like, what are you talking about? You act like there's no rich people in France. You really believe that? You think there's no rich people in Italy or, you know, in Japan or Korea or you know, the UK? You really think that? No, I promise you guys, there are wealthy people all around the world. They're doing just fine. The thing is, in the USA, there's just an over exuberance or overemphasis on greed, and you know, building as many gold ballrooms as possible, and then people go along with it because, again, they're distracted by whatever dog whistles of you know, racism or whatever. Take your pick. And this is also what's happening in the USA right now. These are two headlines from the Wall Street Journal. Like I try to go and check the financial news and share with you what's going on, and this is literally what's in the Wall Street Journal right now. Montana shooting suspect caught after 7-day manhunt. Great. Also in the Wall Street Journal today. It's everywhere. Emory University reports shooting. School advised people to shelter in place. This is stuff that's happening. It's like from just an average person's perspective, I just want my family to be safe. I want to have a job. I want to get paid fairly. I don't want to have to worry about hospital costs here, and I don't want to get shot. I mean, you know, shouldn't we just work on just basic things like this? Or stuff like this, which isn't talked enough about in the USA because it's a sensitive topic for people. People don't want to be honest with you, but I'm just being honest with you guys. The food is unhealthy. This is the headline. Ultra-processed food consumption is down a bit, okay, but still more than 50% of the U.S. diet, ultra-processed food. So Americans are eating a whole bunch of this stuff. Americans get about 55% of our calories from tasty, cheap, and unhealthy manufactured foods. And that's the latest data from the CDC. For kids, the percentage is even higher. And oftentimes, you know, people ask me, because if you don't know, I'm 50, they say, hey, Chris, how do you stay so young? I really, really am concerned about the food that I eat. I can promise you it's not genetic. Some people like to say that kind of stuff. It's frankly just a racist thing. And I know it's mean there, but I'm telling you the truth. Some say, oh, you're just Asian. It's all genetic. Guys, my brothers and sisters all look older than me, and they are younger. They all look older than me. If you take care of yourself, if you try to eat healthy food, and you'll say, I know it's hard because a lot of people live in food deserts. I know that. I really know. And there's fast food everywhere, and it's a distraction, etc. But you can actually eat healthy in the USA. You just have to pay more attention to, what you're putting into your body. And I know like I said, this is a sensitive topics, but I just try to tell you guys the truth about this stuff. I want healthy food for people, access to healthcare, education, right? Fair pay. These are all pretty basic things that what I think everyone would want. And then again, the Republicans try to distract you with all sorts of nonsense, and then they get you focused on, hey, we're going to build gold ballrooms or whatever. So